No, I had it muted. It seems to be working, so I suppose we will find out. I'm trying a new camera angle because one of the biggest problems I've been having is the camera being in the way when I'm trying to paint. So this is far more overhead. I don't know if it's actually going to be better or not. I do know that I'm already having an issue with there being a lot of light and it kind of washing out. And of course, since I'm using my cell phone, there's clearly an issue with the zoom being, you know, not great because the lens isn't great. So at some point I will eventually buy a real DSLR camera, and I will actually have... Uh-oh, there it went again. Nope, okay, no, I'm still good. So hopefully, let's see if I can finagle that just a little. There we go. That looks... Yeah, let's hope it stays that way. So this is what he looks like before priming, right? Apparently the 91% IPA worked wonderfully. So the next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and give him a spray prime. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put him down, mix up the spray primer a little bit, and we're going to give this a shot. Now again, this is going to be one of the lovely benefits of using an airbrush, is that since it's not coming through a rattle can, it's going to have a considerably better, finer mist coming through. Comme ça. So, when I start working on this guy, I can be a little closer due to the jet not being as powerful, but I'm not going to try and get a whole lot on him. I'm going to do very small, thin passes so that he gets coverage, but he doesn't get drowned in the primer. And hopefully what that'll do for him is it'll give him a very thin layer of primer without filling in all the little details. Yeah, no, I'm honestly, I'm not surprised, but I'm a little dismayed that they've got you guys walking around outside right now, because everything kind of melted and then froze back over. So I was hoping that, you know, the roads would be considered too dangerous for pretty much anyone to be out. So apologies that had to be a thing that happened, but at the very least you're getting paid for it. Okay. Let's see. I think that about does it. That's probably a pretty good coverage for him. Gonna make sure to hit some other spots. And I'm actually gonna do something really cool for him that I don't think you do with your minis, because you haven't really seen it done, but I'm going to do a zenithal prime, which will really make a lot of his details pop. I'm honestly really stunned at how much better the 91% IPA worked. I am painting a Castellan Crow that was commissioned. So yes, you work in a warehouse, usually that sounds like a pretty decent job itself. So while it might be freezing, at the very least you're indoors, right? So yeah, I was I don't want to say gifted, but I was commissioned to paint this Castellan Crow to like display standard. So hopefully he's gonna end up looking really good when I finish with him. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a hair dryer just to make the primer dry a little quicker, and that way I can move on to the second layer. So let's see. We're gonna go ahead, get them all dried up. The primer so it's nice and baked on. And yeah, you can definitely see that some of the details are a lot sharper because of that like millimeter difference in thickness between what you had done to the guy and what I had just done to him. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on the screen, but let's see. Doop. Nope, that's not what I want. I want this. Let's see if I can zoom in a little further. And let's see if I can... I don't think this is going to work, but just because, yeah, I'm zoomed in at like 500% now. That's far too much. So we're going to go back to about 200. But yeah, it's just a matter of having the right amount. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean out my airbrush real quick, and then I'm gonna put a pale sand, like off-white, in the airbrush, and you'll get to see what a good zenithal prime looks like. I'll be right back. That out right here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to add to this is, and this is usually used to help people with kind of being able to see the highlights versus the shadows, is I'm going to use some Vallejo Pale Sand. You can use Wraithbone is another popular one. You could use just a regular white. You can use a gray. But I'm going to go ahead and use this as a highlight color for the Gray Knight. That way you can get a really good look at where the light would theoretically hit versus where the light is not hitting on the model. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that most of the liquid has been taken out of the brush. Let's put that in there. Don't need a whole lot because I'm almost done with this bottle, actually. And we're going to go ahead. Yeah, that's going to look real good. And so, just spray it on very gently. I'm going to get this nice coverage. Now, unfortunately, the spray nozzle I have on here is probably a little too big for what I'm actually doing. You want to have like a 0.2 or 0.02 or 0.03 millimeter brush or needle, but this is going to have to do for what we got. And it's definitely not going to look bad. It's just going to provide some nice shadow and really tell us where the high points and the low points are. So I'm going to see if I can, and you can see already that does a lot in bringing out most of the detail on the Mini. So let me see if I zoom in. Yeah, and see, like that already looks really freaking cool because it really highlights the top part of him versus the bottom, you know, where the shadows would hit or not. So that's what we're going to work with today. Now, you mentioned you wanted him as a true metallic metal, so that's going to make life real easy. But go ahead and let me clean out the airbrush one last time, and then I can get to actually traditionally painting the lens. But you can definitely see just by that little clip that, or that little bit that, that took me, I don't know, less than 15 minutes total, 10 minutes maybe, that you've already got some really great details showing up on the Mini. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on them, which means the glasses need to come off. So I apologize if I don't notice new chats with any kind of frequency because I'm now working half blind. But we're going to go ahead. First, I'm going to pull that up, and with that, I need to move some lights around. I got a new light for Christmas, and it's got an articulated arm that makes life a whole lot easier, but because of where I placed it, it's kind of in the way of a few things. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Move some stuff around. Take that up, because I don't need that anymore. Now, I'm not sure if I really like this placement of the camera, simply because it's so far away, and to be honest, it makes the subject feel very tiny. So what I think I'm going to do, we're going to zoom in to about 300, feels like I'm pushing it. 250? Yeah, see, I've got such a narrow focal length right now that I really can't find a good middle spot for it. So I think that'll have to do. But if I pull him closer in, you can't see him. Let's manipulate this camera a little bit. Pull it towards that. And I don't know how fuzzy that looks. I apologize if it's out of focus. Hold it further out of focus. But that's about the best I can do right now. I'm probably going to end up changing the setup again because I really don't like what that's doing. Oh, whoops. I forgot to clean my wet palette from when I was using it this morning. I was painting some of the Soulblight Gravelord vampire monsters for Cursed City this morning when I remembered, oh wait, I was stripping a model. Let's see how it turned out. And I apparently completely forgot to clean my wet palette from that. So I'm going to do that real quick. And then we'll get some new paint on it, and then we can go ahead and start working on them. Now, what I'm probably going to do, first of all, is I'm going to start filling in some of the black. So you can tell he's kind of sitting on like a stone plinth, and he's definitely got some black bits to his armor. So those are the first parts I'm going to address before I move on. And I also noticed when I was looking at him that his blade itself actually has a black metal on it, because it looks like it's actually a Chaos Blade that he has taken the power of. So we're going to work with that bit of knowledge. And the first thing I'm going to do is color in a lot of this thing as a black to bring it back down. And then I can start highlighting it back up using some of the stone features. Make it look a little more granite-y. But yeah, I feel like this overhead camera setup just might not be it. I don't know if it's going to make things easier to look at. I don't know if it's going to make things harder to look at. I just feel like it's too far away, and to get it to focus, I'm having to zoom in too much. So we're going to go ahead. Get all that. And I think for the chaos symbol, I'm just going to use like a dirty bronze effect. And that'll allow me to do some really cool verdigreeing with it to give it a really stained look. Hey Red, how's it going? It's been a while since I've seen you because it's been a while since I've streamed. I've been having some issues with connectivity and some health issues, so I've kind of been out of commission for a bit. Right now, I am painting up one of the new Grey Knight models for a former student / client. Former student, current client. And I had to strip him down because unfortunately the prime job was a little too thick, which is, you know, always a problem with priming minis. But got him back to his Zenithal prime, and now my goal is to just get some base coats on him today. So that I can work up the details over time. How have you been? Where I live, we finally got some snow for the first time in what feels like years. And it's been pretty nice because it meant today I had a day off. Which is not something that's been happening very often outside of me being ill. Okay. Put some of that. Having family problems, eldest is being a swine. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that he's having some of those growing pains. That stuff's never fun to have to deal with. Hopefully he'll grow out of it, and hopefully you guys will be able to reach an understanding. I'm sorry it couldn't be sooner rather than later. Because I remember back in November when I last streamed, you were telling me about this specific issues. Last one was pre-COVID. From what I understand, my wife found on her phone a picture I had taken of it snowing. Golly, 2 years ago after we got her new car, but I don't think it was enough to get us out of work or out of school. So, who knows? I do know that we had the power go out at one of our, at our school last year, and so midterms ended up getting canceled. And that was my last real memory of it all. But yeah, this year I've had to miss an inordinate amount of work because of various illness issues. And it's starting to get real frustrating. It's January and I still have yet to make it through a full week of work. And that just feels bad for so many reasons. Okay, the next thing that's black on him is the blade. Let me go ahead and fill in the blade with a black metal that I can then build up from there. My mom was speculating you'll be out tomorrow too, depending on how the ice sticks. Yeah, it's, from what I understand today, we're supposed to get up to maybe 34, and then, it's supposed to go back down to like 15. And overnight, we're supposed to start having wind chill issues, like big, severe wind chill issues. And what I mean by that is it's supposed to be down in, no, it's not Dakon Blackblade. Given that it's 40k, it might actually be worse. But, it's supposed to get down to like -10, and we have the wind chill warning until like 7 a.m. tomorrow. And I just feel like they're not going to want to have kids standing out at the school buses when it's that cold, you know what I mean? So who knows? I don't knows. I'm not going to pretend to. I wouldn't mind having another day off. It feels kind of weird knowing that, since winter break ended, I spent more time at home than I have at work. But, I'm not going to complain. What else needs to be black? I think the little tube leading up to his helmet should be black. And here's the cool thing. That is about as far as I got. The school administration isn't the best. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think she wants that kind of bad PR. So, I think that was actually effectively as far as I got with this guy before I messaged you about the primer issue. And to be honest, now that I'm looking at him reprimed, I'm kind of glad I did, because his details are so much more crisp now that we've gone through, or now that you've allowed me to go through and reprime the lad. So, yeah, sorry that's going to end up costing you a little more, but beyond that, it was a really good idea, because now a lot of his details are really going to sing. Oh, he's got a little, another little Chaos Blade right here that I can kind of color in. I can mess with that later. But yep, that looks like it's it. So the next thing, and this is where I was struggling a bit. He's no longer living with us, disrespecting us, turned around to his nana and said that his granddad should hurry up and die. Got a message from him today saying that when I die, he's gonna piss on my grave. That's really unfortunate. I'm sorry that he's deciding to be such a little goblin. Hopefully he comes to his senses. I mean, that's the best we can do right now, is just hope that he eventually comes to his senses. Because, you know, especially nowadays, there are way too many negative influences out there. And you can only do what you can do and hope that some of it sticks, right? Okay. So the next thing... What's the next thing I want to do with him? I think the next thing is going to have to be to paint the metal, because there's just so much of it. And so painting the metal is going to be interesting because he's going to have to learn the hardware. Unfortunately, that's the only way some people will learn, right? You hope and pray that they don't have to, but they decide that that's the way they want to do it. So hopefully, when that moment finally happens, and he has that moment where I figured since I was already paying for the best version, I might as well pay to make sure he gets the full treatment. Yeah, that's completely understandable. But yeah, all you can really hope is that when when it really comes down to it, he eventually remembers some of the knowledge that you've imparted on him and realizes, you know what, maybe he was right. Maybe this is how I should be doing things, even if he didn't get the full lesson. So what's going to happen with this guy is I'm going to get him with a gunmetal base, which will give him that nice metallic sheen. But then I'm going to go back over, and for the shadows and the low spots, I'm going to give him kind of a dark brown, or not a dark brown, a dark blue shadow, which will hopefully do a really good job in giving you some nice contrast between the brightness of the metal and the darkness of the shadows for the lighting. That'll give us a really nice true metallic metal look going about him. And it'll prevent him from just looking like he's made out of aluminum. You've been naughty as well? Oh no, what have you done? Hopefully nothing too bad. Yeah, go ahead and get that. I ordered the Bretonian set. Oh, nice. You got to clock back in. You'll keep the string on. Just holler if you need me. I will do. I'm going to primarily be using the box art that I found online to reference him for color choice. So unless you want something very different, I should be pretty okay. But thank you for the heads up. Yeah, I can't afford any Warhammer right now. Like, I legitimately can't afford anything. I found out that if I'm very careful with my money from now until the end of the year, then I'll have just enough money to make it through the summer. So hopefully that'll be enough money to allow me to get into or take some different classes so that I can get into a new profession that doesn't have me calling out sick every other day. Because I have some ideas on things I can certify in, and that might be able to carry me through the summer into some new employment next year. But I do not know. Hey, Arya, it's good to see you again. Yeah, sorry, I forget to. The biggest thing now is that my internet is having a hard time staying stable when I stream. Whenever it gets under too heavy a workload, it's just like, I don't want to work anymore. And then it just craps out. And when that happens, you know, it kind of feels like a wasted stream. So I've gotten to a point where it's like, I'll start announcing it when I can start reliably staying online. And I also just haven't been on much. I tried to stream yesterday, and the internet failed me. And before that, the last time I streamed was in November. So, you haven't really missed much. Between, like, a couple of mental health issues and just general internet insecurity, I just haven't had the time or ability. Right now, though, I'm working on a commission piece. A former student has decided to start doing Grey Knight. I ordered it from Amazon for $155. About 10 minutes later, it was out of stock, then it bumped up to $200. That doesn't surprise me at all. The old world stuff sold really well, though I wonder how much of that was scalpers, because the exact same thing happened with The End and the Death Volume 3, and some of the new Kill Team stuff that came out, and it's immediately on eBay for like $1 million. So I'm glad that you were able to get yourself a set without having to pay through the nose for it. I'm really frustrated that Games Workshop still hasn't been able to solve the scalper problem, though I understand that it's not exactly the easiest thing to deal with. But yeah, I'm working on this guy. I'm starting off with a true metallic metal base, and then I'm going to build him up to a like some really good layering and deep shadow and high contrast. So hopefully he doesn't just look like he was painted and then covered in Nuln Oil, and that he actually has some really nice variety in his coloring, so that we get a really, really good, like, miniature that stands out on the tabletop. Because painting true metallic metal is something that I am familiar with and I'm okay at, but I'd love to get better at it, and so this is going to be a wonderful lesson in doing so. Okay, so I believe his actual shield is red. He's going to create a nice bit of pop against all the silver. But right now, just means I got to be careful. And yeah, because of how thin this this metallic paint is going on, I'm going to need to do a couple of thin coats because it's not really getting a lot of good coverage right now. But yeah, I've been since I haven't been able to stream, I've been spending a lot of time playing tabletop RPGs, and I think I talked about this last time. I possibly talked about it the last time I was able to stream reliably. That I got really into Rogue Trader, and I got really into Baldur's Gate. And I actually just beat Baldur's Gate. What was it? According to the game log, I spent over 100 hours in the game, and that doesn't even include all the save scumming I did because I wanted to try and get the best possible ending, which I then managed to immediately screw up by making the worst possible choices at the end of the game. So I clearly got my money's worth out of that game. And I'm so kind of annoyed and disappointed with my ending because of my choices that I'm probably going to go right back to playing it very soon. It's a good game. For those who are still curious and haven't heard the hype, Baldur's Gate is I would say hands down the best computer RPG that's ever come out. Storyline-wise, it may have a couple of nibbly bits in it, but I'll be honest, the execution of the game far makes up any shortcomings that the story might have. It is an incredibly, impeccably designed game with some amazing aspects to it that I would never have expected to see in a video game. So, I'm very impressed with what Larian Studios did. And if that's an indicator of things to come with tabletop or with MTG Ranger, good to see you again. The last thing I did in BG3 was lick a corpse. It was Shadow Hearts. I did lick a corpse though. I know that I remember that you can definitely lick a spider corpse at one point, and that was really funny because it's like, here's a giant dead spider. What should you do? And you can investigate it. You can kind of stare at it, or you can just lick the damn thing. And that just feels like such a chaotic thing to do given the rest of the game's choices. No, I beat the entire thing, and I hate my choices at the very end, so I'm going to go back and do it again with rolling a completely new character. My favorite thing, though, you still need to figure out how to play Baldur's Gate 3. From what I understand, the game is fairly forgiving on even, like, low-power computers. I don't know how true that is, though, because it seems like a very demanding game graphically. It's one of the prettiest games I've played in a while, in a lot of ways. And I'm honestly stunned at the amount of detail they managed to put in, because one of the things I always remember about playing the old computer RPGs was that they would kind of narrate what your character did, but because of limitations, you just had to hope or like imagine that that was what was happening. But in this game, your avatar, your Tav as they're being called, has a ton of personality. So it's really impressive, and then you get into the myriad different options and variations and approaches to different things, and it's like they really thought that game through. You have to assume that there's a low graphics, but yeah, that's what I heard, is that the settings are really forgiving. So I don't know how high-end or low-end your PC is, but if you got you've got to have one since you stream, but it's well worth it. Like, if you can, even if you don't have a computer that can play it right now, I would get Baldur's Gate 3 just to have it in your library so that you eventually can play it. When I first played it, I was not impressed. I was by the amount of flexibility, but I just remember being frustrated by the combat and whatnot. And it turns out that's just how Larian Studios works, is that the first part of the game is kind of brutal, and then as you kind of go through the school of hard knocks and get familiar with the engine and how your character plays and whatnot, the game starts opening up and it becomes a far better balanced thing with a lot of flexibility and freedom in how to play. And to give you an example of that, just for a bit of silliness, and I feel like it was purposefully put in, but I don't know if it is. One of the characters, the Tiefling Karlach, the Barbarian, I went ahead and built her as a Throwbarian, which, if you take Tavern Brawler and Berserker, she gets to double her strength modifier on damage with improvised weapons and with thrown weapons. And if you take Tavern Brawler, I think you get proficiency bonus on thrown weapons. There's some strange combination of things that if you do them, you get stupid good bonuses for throwing things. So with Karlach, what you need to do is just give her a weapon that returns, and there's like 3 of them in the game, or just every time you find anything that's remotely heavy, like armor or heavier weapons, give those to her and give her Frenzied Throw, and just watch her throw a random assortment of things at enemies, including other enemies, and doing massive damage every time. And my favorite part about that is, with the exception of like your barest clothes, most armor is at least 5 pounds, which I guess classifies it as heavy. So I've, a lot of the bosses in the game, I beat by throwing, chainmail at from, 60 feet away. And I just find that to be the height of comedy. And it's made even better by the fact that that character is kind of a free spirit. So, watching her do her little happy jig for her idle animation after you've just beat a demigod by throwing a robe at him is really funny. But yeah, right now with this guy, all I'm really doing with him is trying to get this this gunmetal silver base coat on, so that I can continue working from there and get some heavier shadowing in, some heavier shading in. Because this is all just baseline stuff. This is all just getting that initial shine on him, so that I can then knock it down and highlight it through various means. And it's been a long time since I've done true metallic metal, and it's not something that I've really practiced a whole lot of my skill set on. So it's not really my hope, because I know it'll turn out fine, but it's my hope that I can elevate this and make it look really, really, really good. You know what I mean? Because I don't want this to just look like that I spray painted it silver and that was it, and then put like a wash on it. So hopefully that will be the case, and I can make this thing look absolutely fantastic instead of just like a slightly updone silver metallic. Okay. Go ahead and put that with the silver, just to give it a little bit more. Because this Castell and Crow model is really cool. The only thing I think I would have done differently is I would have put him in his with his non-helmeted option. He is a character unit, and because of that, I would have given him a little bit more. I would have let him keep his helmet off. Though admittedly, his helmet is really darn cool. So hopefully, this will all end up looking okay when I'm done with it. Come on. Get some more of that metallic on there. And so yeah, it looks like we've got most of the coverage looking okay for this metallic. I'm not seeing any specific spots. There are a couple spots that could use a little bit more, so I'm gonna go back, try and get as much of it as I can, so that it doesn't end up looking too chintzy. Okay. Next. What should be next on this guy? Because he's got all of that going on. Oh yeah, I should probably go ahead and do the... No, I was going to do that in a silver. Or not in silver, in a copper. What should be next? Probably the red. I think I'm going to go ahead and do his cloak next, which means I can stop worrying about the metallics for a second. I think I'm going to give him a brilliant red cloak, but I'm going to do a double check real quick to make sure that that's the right color. So let's give me a second. Shop. Space Marines. Granites. Yep, definitely red. So that's what we're going to work with. Said here I gave Drago his helmet too. I think the helmets are cool. That's fine. I mean, it's your army. You do whatever you want to do with these minis. Yeah, they do have that knightly looking helmet. Apparently, and this was me learning this later after, you know, having been in the hobby for a bit. The Imperial Fists before the Black Templars split off from them used to do that. So like the Mark 6 or Age of Darkness Marines, the Imperial Fist custom helmet option is most definitely similar to the Grey Knight / Black Templar look. And it turns out that they kind of lost that when the Black Templars were founded. Specifically because the Black Templars became kind of the knightly order section of the Imperial Fists, and the Imperial Fist just kind of became the bog standard Space Marine faction, which is fine, but it feels like they lost a cool little bit of personality there. But like, I guess that's kind of the point though, is that the Imperial Fists are meant to be the everyman of the Space Marines. They're meant to be the Space Marine chapter that does its job well, and but doesn't do it special. You know what I mean? They're not jacks, or they're not masters of logistics like the Ultramarines, or of stealth, or of any of that stuff. They are particularly good at siege and fortification, but beyond that, they just kind of go in, they do their job, they don't need to be celebrated for it. Okay. Regardless, I haven't bought the Imperial Fist Chapter 6 Mark 6 helmets because I like the beaky helmets too much. I like the Scowling Vox helmet too much. Not overly fond of the knightly helmet, but like that's the whole thing about the Grey Knights. They are the Secret Service knightly dudes. So the reason why I'm starting this with kind of a purple paint is because in its shadows, red will have kind of a purplish hue, and that's where I want to go with this, is I want to give the shadows kind of a deep purple, and then build up from that deep purple into a red, so that the cloak looks especially brilliant. Because if I just start with like red, then I really can't go down from red, and I can go up from red, but not really where I want to go. So let's take that and give the entire thing a decent coverage with this purple. And then from the purple, I can move into kind of a deep maroon. Grey Knights, not Grey Space Marines for a reason. That is true. So, the Grey Knights came out of a thing with Malkador during the Siege of Terra, and now that I've read as much of that as I have, it was kind of a really neat set of books and situations for them. I really enjoyed reading about that. And the original chapter master kind of the Grey Knights, I think is pretty cool, was 1000 Sun. And there was a lot of there was some fan speculation that I saw not too long ago that the Grey Knights were supposed to be the new chapter, the new legion that the Emperor promised Magnus if he were to come back and redeem himself, which doesn't quite make sense. But it is a cool idea because one of his sons ended up being like one of the founding fathers of the Grey Knights. So I appreciated that little connection there. If I remember right, he was given a shard of Magnus that kind of elevated him and allowed him to become the Grand Master of the Grey Knights. But I honestly don't know what happened to him. So last I read, which was during the siege, he left with a bunch of the other founding chapter members to go train on Titan at Malkador's behest. So there's a lot more story there that I'm just not familiar with, which I suppose is fine. But hopefully you can kind of see how I'm slowly building up from that dark purple into a into what's going to eventually be a more brilliant red. And red cloaks is something that I enjoy doing a lot. I think it's a lot of fun to see that texture kind of build up. A little bit more red into this mix. And that will allow me to do some of this stuff. As we bring some of that paint down into the crevice where it kind of terminates, because that is where the sun doesn't hit and therefore the shadows hit. Okay, same thing in here. And yep, we're just going to keep hitting it over with a little bit more red each time. Tragically killed in the fishing incident. Yeah, probably. Like I said, I legitimately don't remember what happened to the character, and honestly, I'm forgetting his name, which really sucks because he was a cool character. He had a cool couple of short stories dedicated to him, and he was part of. He was first introduced in a White Scars book, which I really enjoyed, and he kind of redeemed himself through that chapter, through that Legion, and so I had a lot of fun reading about him. Because he was tied to Targete Yashugai, who I think it was a really cool character. I really enjoyed the Siege of Terra books, and I strongly recommend them to anyone who wants to learn more about the Horus Heresy. Well, the Siege of Terra books, the Horus Heresy books, etc., etc. I'm not going to claim that they're all high quality, because they're not. There's some stinkers in there, and some that are just not that good. But by and large, it was a really fun read. Though admittedly, I only got to like book 30-something, I think, before I had to start skipping around. Though I also suppose that that's one of the strengths of it, is that you can just skip around without missing a whole lot. The Horus Heresy books, after the first couple, just kind of start going off in different directions, and it's up to you to decide whether you think that that plot point is worth following through. And if not, they do a good enough job with exposition dumps to kind of explain what happened in those cases anyway. So there we go. We have a cloak. Let's get some of that red a little closer to the front there. Over there. Okay. And let's see. We're gonna have to go back to that dark brown for a second. Or that dark brown, that dark purple for a second. Use it to cover under here. That's not dark enough. That's probably dark enough. Get some of that. Get some of that. Get some of that. Some of that. Okay, and honestly, I think just for the sake of the pop, I'm going to go ahead and leave the inside of the cloak purple, because the purple liner just looks good. What I am going to do, though, is hit the high spots of it with a lighter purple. And hopefully that will read properly. There we go. Okay. And I think, actually, let's go ahead and look at the rest of Castellan Crow real quick. If I recall properly, he's got kind of a warp flame wreathed sword, which looks like it starts out with kind of a really dark purple and works its way up to a hot pink. Now, part of that I don't think I'm going to be able to do on stream just because it's so darn dark. And it's got some very fine lining. But at the very least, I've got this much done for him. So, what else can I do? I think we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to add some more black into the purple that I already have. And we're going to use that to cover some of these flames. And eventually, I'll go back and I'll blend the flames into the actual blade, which was a skill that took me a while to learn when I was working on Gilliman, because blending one color into another is difficult. But it was well worth trying because it gave me that exposure and made me less scared to do so next time. I just wish I hadn't tried on a model as nice as Gilliman. Okay. Now don't get me wrong, I've talked about it many a times before, but the Gilliman turned out okay. He won me a painting competition, a local one. But, you know, it's really stressful to try and do a new advanced technique on a model you're doing for a competition. Okay, that's not giving me enough paint. That's giving me enough paint, I think. Okay. There we go. That's more purple in there. Because I do want this to kind of read a little more purple. I'm going to go really, really bright with this warp flame. Okay. So a little bit more on the back end. I also mentioned it before, but I want to mention it again. If you have a chance, play Rogue Trader. Rogue Trader is such a good game. If you can't play Baldur's Gate for whatever reason, give Rogue Trader a shot. Owlcat Studios is the other like prominent tabletop or computer RPG maker in the world right now, and they really nailed it or hit it out of the park with Rogue Trader. That game is phenomenal, and the only reason why I'm not playing that right now is because unfortunately with an older build of the game that I have acquired, there was a game-breaking glitch. And to give you an idea of how good the game is, I really don't care that I have to go back and replay the entire game to not have the glitch happen anymore, but or to work around the glitch, but I'm still a little salty about it. Okay, so all of this is going to get brightened up over time as I continue working this guy. Now, one moment, let me check something about... Yeah, I was right. Got the red he's got the red Inquisition symbol. He's got the red shield. What else is red on this lad? Oh, the banner's red, so I could do that. Oh, so he's actually got a cream-colored cloak on the back, and it's red-lined on the inside. That's interesting. So I'm probably going to have to go back and redo that, since I was told and requested, and I want to personally keep it as close to the box art as possible. But that's not really a problem, because as you guys saw, painting the cloak was not difficult. Now, I will admit, painting it red is definitely going to be more, or painting it cream color is definitely going to be more difficult, because the khaki color that I have is not a particularly good one. So I will have to figure that out on my own eventually. Though honestly, I welcome the challenge. Okay, so let's go ahead and paint some of that. Cover this entire thing in red as a base coat so that I can then work off of it and go into other colors. Right now, I just need this to be red, which it is, a very brilliant red. Some of the detail work I'm probably gonna have to do off stream because I need to have it closer to my face with a smaller brush, and unfortunately I can't get that kind of ability with the camera in the way. Spin you around. Yep, the back is red. It actually looks like his banner is black, so I can also do that. What I think I'll go ahead and do is I'll just send photos and be like, hey, do you want the cape to match perfectly, or do you want the cape to be red with this purple liner? And that way I can decide, the customer can decide whether or not they like what I've done. If not, I'll change it. Okay. And a little bit more red in there. I miss the days of back banners. I'm glad they're kind of bringing it back because I saw that the new company Heroes have a back banner. I think doesn't the new Stern Guard veteran have a back banner? I do not recall. I just think that they're a cool part of 40K that seems to have fallen off because they've been seen as too silly in a world with orcs. Or in a universe with orcs, I suppose. There we go. And I'm gonna wait for that to dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this this pole with the black, so that way it matches with the box art. Oh, I forgot to do his little iron halo up there. That's okay. Should be relatively easy to knock back out. But yeah, if you don't know the premise of the Rogue Trader video game, it's pretty straightforward. You start off as like a candidate to become a successor for a famous Rogue Trader, and then they manage to get themselves killed within the tutorial through a series of unfortunate events, and that leads you into being their successor. So you gain control of their dynasty, and you get to spend the rest of the game kind of dealing with that situation, which plays out in some really cool, fascinating ways. Oh, I did that wrong anyway. I'm not going to be able to do that pattern. I know I'm not going to be able to do that pattern. Woohoo, the Gribbly's my bestie son have arrived. The nuanced crew, Seamer Killer, Neurotyrant, Barbagants, and some Hormagaunts. Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like you got most of the new release for 10th edition, which is a really good release. Fantastic set of models. I really love the Neurotyrant. I think it's a great looking model. And the new Screamer Killer is nothing to sneeze at either. I'm forgetting the name of the other one, the big old bug-looking one that's new, that has like the big spider butt. I'm forgetting its name, but it's one of my new favorite models, and one of my favorite things about it is if you look at the paint job I did on it, I like to ask people, which part do you think I spent the most time on? And they'll always go to, like, you know, the carapace, or the face, or the teeth. And the answer is no. Psychophage, thank you. Yeah, and the answer is no. The part that I spent the most amount of time, the most amount of detail on the psychophage is the arm that he's pulling into his maw. Because I just think it's really funny that he's got like a dismembered space marine arm that he's slowly devouring. And because one of my friends plays Space Wolves, and he also plays Alpha Legion, and he's used his Alpha Legion to have some Imperial Fist corpses, I went ahead and painted / shaded the arm in the best Space Wolf off blue that I could. So I had a lot of fun doing that. 10 Gene Stealers paired with a Broodlord is sick. That's my understanding, is it's kind of gross. You've been playing in a narrative campaign, a tabletop simulator, and it's so fun. That's something I really want to do at some point, but I want to do it in person. Tabletop simulator is really not my jam. Because Warhammer by itself, to me, isn't like enough to draw me into it. For me, it's the painting of the models and getting to like see the models on the table. That's kind of the real appeal for me. So I'm glad that you're having fun and that it's a good time for you. But I gotta join the Escalation League that they're having at one of my local game stores, because that's the ability to paint new models and present them is kind of where I'm happiest. Unfortunately, I got no money. All my money got spent on bills. So I am unable to join anything and do anything with the hobby until I get some money. The good news is, to be completely honest, I don't have the time right now on a practical level to increase my pile of shame. I've got almost the entire Cursed City box to finish painting. Yeah, our tabletop simulator is the only way you get to play it all. Yeah, which really sucks, because you've got that wonderful game store nearby, but I guess if you don't have enough friends with armies to play there, then it is kind of a moot point, right? Am I even on? Yeah, I'm still on camera. But, yeah, I've got such a huge pile of shame that I'd feel bad if I started adding to it again. So honestly, resisting the urge to buy more minis has not been very difficult. As much as I want Stiltman for AdMech, for example, I can wait. He's not a limited edition release. He's going to stick around for a while. So in the meantime, I've been trying to either work through commissions like this one, or work through the Cursed City mini so I can finally play Warhammer Cursed City. Oh. Sorry to hear that. Sorry they turned out to not be compatible for whatever reasons they ended up being. That's always the worst. So now I just gotta wait for this stuff to dry off so I can continue layering this up, because this color is obviously not the right one to have painted over with a pale khaki. Yeah, but you found Tabletop Simulator, friends, so it all worked out, which is good. Okay, so very clearly I'm fighting myself here. Give me a second. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with a hairdryer. There we go. They also have to be folks from your Guild Wars 2 guild. Yep, there you go. So they're people you already knew, they're people you already trust. That's an absolute win. Doesn't get much better than that. Kind of like most of the people that I play Warhammer with, I happen to work with and enjoy being around and be friends with outside of work. So I ended up being able to find a good little community with that. At some point, I don't know how true this is, because I don't think I have the patience, but I'd love to go to one of those... They also have... Yeah, okay. One of those big narrative campaign things they do on the other side of the country. I think the last one they did was in Atlanta, Georgia, which, not the other side of the country, but still a good ways away. And it just looks like a whole lot of fun to be able to participate in a narrative campaign of that size and scale. And it's something I'd like to do at some point. When? I don't know. But the fact that it is based more on being able to complete narrative objectives outside of score more points than the other guy just really speaks to me on a lot of levels, because I enjoy like the storylines of 40K and the story that's told more than I enjoy coming up with meta lists that are super good because I've got the right units and whatnot. You've lost 3 out of the 4 missions, but you've had so much fun anyway. That's how it's supposed to be, right? At least to me, that's how it's supposed to be. If you're having fun despite, you know, quote unquote losing, then I think you've won. I think that's kind of where everyone wants to be, is that the game is fun regardless of who wins. And just on like an emotional level, that can be a hard place to get to, because some people tie their ability to win to their self-worth, and it's like, no, it's just a game, dude. Like, I honestly don't think I've managed to win a 10th edition game yet, because I've made my Imperial Fist army really good at being a gun line and really bad at actually playing the objective. So I have yet to win, but I have a ton of fun while doing so. Your Rupture T-Rex whiffed 3 times in a row. Ugh. I hate when that happens. I painted a Vindicator siege tank and was really excited because it's one of my favorite models. I just think it's such a cool model, what with the big stupid bulldozer gun. And the first time I got to use it, I rolled a 1 on the number of shots, and then I rolled 4 1s to hit. So I didn't get to do any damage with the lad, and then he got blown up next turn. Let's see. Hopefully Crow and Drago can give extra moolah to join the Escalation League. It's fun. I mean, that's the only reason you're getting painting. Yeah, that's right. You're using them as part of your Grey Knights army for the Escalation League. And they are neat characters. I don't know how good they are, because I haven't looked at their stats at all. But at the very least, you're going to have neat characters to lead your Grey Knight strike squads and whatnot. Now, I will let you know right now, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that pattern that he has on the inside of his cape. Yeah, rip to the lad, right? Freehanding is not something I'm very good at, so I'm not even going to try and do his cape's, like, triangle pattern with the khaki. That's a lot of work, and it's something I'm not very good at. So, we're going to keep without that. At least not on camera. I might give it an attempt off camera, but on camera that just feels like a bad idea. Okay. There's a lot of little cleanup I need to do on this guy that I can't do because where I've got to place him so the camera can see him. But overall, I think he's turning out pretty okay. Once I finish with the cloak, I think it'll be time for me to go back and mess around a little bit with, actually, no, I can do the purity seals because it's using the same color as those, I guess. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, so he's got a ton of purity seals on him, which makes sense given that he's a Grey Knight. And so what I'm going to do with these purity seals is I'm going to paint them using the same khaki color that I used on his cloak because it's the color I tend to use for worn parchment. I think that this khaki reads well as kind of a yellowed paper. Okay, there we go there. Let that dry a little bit. Let that dry a little bit. Got a big old one on his thigh right there. Okay. Speaking of, I'm hearing this adventurous music, and it's just bringing me back to the D&D thing. Have any of you guys watched Delicious in the Dungeon? The new anime adaptation on Netflix. Because if you haven't, and you like D&D, the League's been a good way for me to get into the game. Starting small, building up is a great way to finance my army. Yeah, I think it's the smart way, too. Buying an immediate 2,000 points just feels like insanity. Starting at, like, combat patrol level, or with an escalation league, just is like the smart way to do it, and I'm glad that that's a thing. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, and you like anime, and you like D&D, I cannot recommend Delicious in the Dungeon enough. It's a fantastic show. The English dub is pretty good. One of my favorite internet personalities, ProZD, is one of the major characters that gets a lot of speaking lines, and he seems to have a lot of fun with the role. So, if you just want to see a darn good anime, animated by a really good studio, which is Studio Trigger, I cannot recommend Delicious in the Dungeon enough. They're right now going through and doing, like, a limited release schedule. And so it's only coming out, like, one episode every Thursday, but it's so darn worth it. Okay, that can go like that. I think I'm gonna have to find another color to paint these purity seals, because I can't just use the red I've been using. And I think what I'm supposed to do is... No, I think I know what I can do there. I can just add some bone white and pink over top of it, and that'll give it a better highlight, a different highlight than cloak. But yeah. So in Magic News, face down cards are back for some reason. If I recall right, it's because of murder in Carlock Manor or something, which looks to be a really interesting set. They're using a lot of sleuthing, detective, Clue-like abilities. Though honestly, I think Clue was a terrible design choice, as much as I like Shadows over Innistrad, and they should never have done it. I appreciate the creativity that they're going through to make an interesting use of that mechanic, from what I have seen. And hopefully it ends up being a good set, because I love Ravnica. I love the guilds. And that might be my attempt at getting my wife back into Magic the Gathering. Yeah, it is a ton of words. That is kind of the problem, is it's very board gamey. I hope it turns out okay. I think that's been my biggest problem with Magic over the last few years, is that it feels like you need to have a million other pieces to play the game, and that just feels incredibly restrictive to me. Because, you know, back in my day, back when I first started playing Magic, the most that you needed was like a Planeswalker. And even having that felt a little funky. Surveil, they're making new lands, dual lands with the land typing, so you can search for them, enter in tapped, and surveil one. Interesting. So card advantage on a tapped dual land. I guess that's also a thing, though, is, I don't know if it's because they're running out of design space, or if it's just because they're trying to stretch the game, is that it feels like there are now cards that are coming out that are just strictly better. Which I guess has always been the case with the game, but, like, the fact that we're about to have surveilling tap dual lands, that just feels like a lot of things stapled onto one card. I guess the disadvantage is that they enter into borderless ones don't have flavor text. Oh dear God. I mean, I get it, because they want them to be pretty, but ugh. But that's okay. They'll do what they'll do, and then it'll either turn out okay or it won't. There's just a lot of stuff to have to remember to play. Okay, and let's go ahead and get in here with the Inquisitorial Eye. Inquisitorial Eye. The Inquisitorial Eye. There we go. And so much, I hate the trend recently with borderless cards being like one word and no flavor text. Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to let the art speak for itself, but I can see how that'd be annoying. So this is where I'm at right now. He's got the silver armor. He's definitely got his red cloak. I'm going to do some cleanup off camera simply because it's going to be easier for me to do so. But, yeah. I'm liking how this guy's looking. What can I do to make this red a little more punchy and vibrant? Because right now it's not. Probably add some more red onto it, because what the problem... Oh, I forgot to do a purity seal. This guy's got purity seals everywhere. He's got purity seals on his purity seals. There we go. But yeah, as always, the biggest thing about... I forgot another red. The biggest thing about this is that he's right now in what I would call the ugly phase, which I think I've talked about before, but it's that point where you're not sure whether or not your model's actually turning out okay, or if it looks like trash. And so you've just kind of got to trust that it'll eventually start looking better. And that's supposed to... And to me, that's kind of where it's like, trust the ugly phase, right? Got them on the back of his man. You mean like this? Oh man, I forgot to make them red. But yeah, he's got all sorts of purity seals. And so I'm going to paint these a different red to differentiate them from the banner itself. Like, the banner's going to be a nice, vibrant, very red. But we're going to go ahead and show how different this looks by adding some other colors, and it's probably going to end up being more of a magenta by the time I'm done with it. Okay, I'm going to go do some hobby collabing with Otso on Friday, and now I don't know what I'm going to work on. Well, you've got a whole ton of stuff to play with, so good luck. You've got new bits to work with, you've got, I think you got new models, right? You got all sorts of fun stuff to play with there. You should just choose whatever looks like it'll be most fun at that moment. Okay. Oh yeah, the shield is also a vibrant red. I've also still got a ton of Blackrock orcs that I need to paint, because I wanted to do a really cool, like, Warhammer Fantasy orc diorama. But that project fell off to the wayside as I got busy again. Yeah, I think once all of the colors kind of settle in, and I'm able to hit some of these with more of a fine-tooth shot, this is all going to look really, really good. Sorry about that, you were on the phone with your sister? No problem. I've just been kind of rambling incoherently about things. Okay. Let's see, what do we got here? Do a little bit of cleanup with the red around the purity seals. Go a little harder with the red in the inquisitorial eye. New magical girl gives creatures wither. Oh, that's terrifying. Thanks for making him a sexy bastard. I'm trying my best. Hopefully you want to face him on the battlefield one day. Yeah, I would love to. At some point, I am going to be available to play a game of Warhams. Don't get me wrong. It's just a matter of finding the time. The good news is that the wife had a lot of fun painting on Sunday, so she will not be against coming back and doing it again. Which makes me extremely happy because it means we'll be able to paint more together. And get anything good with the money I sent? Bills. I probably bought some more resin with it, and I probably paid some bills. Unfortunately, I'm not in a great position right now to buy more minis. Financial situation has not been great for me. So there's a really good chance that money went straight to bills. Like, she already likes painting minis, it's just she doesn't really have the time or the motivation to do so. So, being able to just have that place to focus was really nice. But yeah, right, I wish I could say that I bought something cool with it, but unfortunately what I bought was, not being in debt for bills. is most likely it. It was either that, or like I said, buying more resin so that I could, print some more stuff. And if I do, I'm most likely going to go a little bit out of my comfort zone and print a bigger model so I can have a whole lot of fun painting it up to look freaking amazing. Okay, there we go. There we go. I just realized how much I actually use this like off-white khaki. It'd be nice if we could actually afford cost of living without paycheck. I know, right? What really sucks for me about it is that, you know, I'm a school teacher with a master's degree that's been doing it for 10 years. I should be able to do more than, you know, barely get by. But admittedly, a lot of that is self-inflicted, so I can't complain too badly. I'm in a much better financial situation than a lot of people, so I'm not going to complain like my situation is the worst. Okay, I forgot about his leg scroll. Speaking of leg scrolls and Grey Knights, have you played Chaos Gate Demon Hunters? Because if you haven't, you should. It's a great game about Grey Knights played like XCOM. So I would definitely give that a look if I were you. I think I can go ahead and do this in the same color. This will actually end up being a leather brown. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. That, however, will not be a leather brown. Unfortunately, my computer is being real funky and I can't play games for very long on them without them freezing up, if they're graphics intensive. And Chaos Gate Demon Hunters has just enough going on under the hood that every time I try and do anything, the game slows down to a crawl. So I can't play it anymore, and that just makes me sad. I think for the paper, normally I do it as that same yellow. You hated XCOM? That's understandable. XCOM definitely is a love it or hate it type game. I guess the good news with Chaos Gate Demon Hunters is that it doesn't follow the XCOM thing of being incredibly difficult. It's trying to be challenging, but it definitely plays with the mechanics better, if you know what I mean. Where it's challenging, but it's not bullshit. I kind of loved the feeling of XCOM, that you were a scrappy human resistance going up against oppressive, horrifying, villainous aliens. It was kind of neat having that the complete knowledge that you were that you were in the right. There was no sympathizing with the villain in that game. Okay. Yeah, nope. I'm just trying to do some cleanup before I head off, because I'm getting to a point where I'm happy with him today, and then I can start really attacking him and making him beautiful tomorrow afternoon. What else can I do here on him? Yeah, I gotta say, I've actually been really impressed and pleased with Warhammer's video games over the past couple years, because they've managed to find a higher quality group of video game developers that can actually do them justice. I think they did a 40k mod for it on PC. They did. Yeah, they did one for XCOM 1 and XCOM 2. But unfortunately, the core gameplay of XCOM 2 is too difficult for me, and it just makes me sad. So I gave up. It became that thing where, because I didn't do the right thing early, I entered into a failure spiral, and the only way to get out of it would have been to start the game over. And that stuff's not fun to me. When you fail so badly, you know, many hours into the game because of something you did in the first 10, I feel like that's an issue and should be fixed. But yeah, I think what I'm gonna do with him actually is I'm gonna hit him all over with a blue wash. And that blue wash should do a good job of really selling the dark parts of his armor. And then I can kind of build him back up with the silver paint into the highlighted areas. Because unfortunately, using metallics is really bad for your brush in general, and my beater brush happens to be a Winsor & Newton one that's starting to die. So I'll have to give that a check and see what I can do with it. Okay. That being said, I think he's turning out pretty okay. He's still not quite to the standard that I want him to be at. Actually, not in the least. He's nowhere near it. I've got a lot of work to do on this guy, which is fine. This is the part of painting I enjoy, is taking a single model and really pouring a lot of time and effort into him and just making him look absolutely brilliant. This is the kind of model that I'm going to want to have people like stop what they're doing so they can stare at it. And I think that this guy is a really, really good example of that, because he's got an amazing dynamic pose. He's got a lot of great contrast on him. He's just a good freaking model. Where can you get single sword? Uh-oh. There we go. Where can you get single sword decals from? I don't have the slightest clue. What you might have to do, and I hate to suggest this because it's a really bad solution, is you might have to get some transfer paper, which you can buy off of Amazon, and then print the decal you're looking for, the symbol you're looking for on the transfer paper, and then do a water slide transfer. But unfortunately, because it's not bespoke, it's obviously not going to slide off as just the decal. It'll be whatever square you manage to cut out. Your Bellacore is one. Yeah, the Diablocore, it really is. That model's really neat. Oh, actually, Aria, have you seen, I don't think you've seen it yet. I'm really proud of this one, but I repainted a Typhus. I sold my original Death Guard Combat Patrol, and I painted a new one to a much higher level of detail. And the one I'm most proud of is Typhus, because I found this really great non-metallic metal, like high contrast tutorial for him. And when I finished him and kind of got to look at him, I said to myself that he looks like the type of model I would see on Instagram or Twitter and wish I could paint that well. Oh my god, that Forge World Fulgrim is beautiful, and I really wish I had the money for him. I'm gonna have to probably buy one of the third-party ones just to kind of slake my my desire to paint that model. But yeah, one moment. Actually, no, what I can do is I can just show you one of the pictures, because unfortunately with the lighting it's not going to look as good. So give me a second. I'm sorry, I'm really proud of this model.